candid conversations, unfiltered opinions, and humor with Abeg Vex Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great episode. Today, I have the pleasure of having Mr. David Fradin with me today. So, Mr. Fradin is going to talk to us about product success. So, this is for all the entrepreneurs who may have questions or building something. How do I make my product successful? How do I sell to my ideal audience? So, David, welcome.
I'm glad to be with you.
Thank you. So, product success, David, are we talking physical product? Are we talking service-based product or both?
Both.
Ooh,
A service is nothing more than an intangible product, and the 5 keys to success that I've identified applies to both services and things you can touch, which are called products.
at what point should a person apply these 5 keys that you have when developing a product for market?
Right from the beginning, part of the reason that about 35% of all new products in the world fail in the marketplace,
Okay.
wasting about $1 trillion in human resources each year, is because they generally don't follow all 5 keys of product success.
So, foundationally, what is the first key?
It follows a mnemonic, which is the name of my company, Spice. Spice Capital is the name of my company. The mnemonic is Spice, SPICE. The S stands for you must have a product market strategy that is a strategy for your product or your service in the market, keeping in mind that a market is like a grocery store.
Right.
Marketing is the trying to persuade people to go to that grocery store and buy something. So I'm talking about the market. The P stands for repeatable processes. The
Okay.
I stands for having the information necessary to make decisions. The C is the most important one, which is knowing and understanding what it is your customer wants to do. And the E is to make sure that amongst your organization, between your employees and your consultants, you have all 130 competencies or skill sets necessary for product success.
So, to the average person, David, this sounds like Latin, right? So, can you break it down? Like, how long did you work on this, and what led you to arriving at these 5 keys?
Product management and product success for 55 years, dating back to when I started the Flying Club at the University of Michigan in 1969, to starting a nationwide student organization in support of an American supersonic transport, to developing the field of environmental mediation in Minnesota and mediating some environmental disputes, to joining Hewlett-Packard and in the PR department to help with the siting of new facilities and introducing word processing to the department. This would be 1980, because it was the only department in the entire company that knew how to type, to being able to move laterally at HP into product management, getting trained as a product manager there, to being recruited by Apple to bring the first hard disk drive to market. It was a beautiful drive. It was a humongous size of 5 megabytes, which I think we just consumed in my last sentence. And, it was really cheap, only cost $3,500,
Right.
but it was the first hard disk on a PC. And the management at Apple noticed that I knew how to manage a project and a product, so they asked me to take over as the group product manager for one of the 2 profitable product lines at the company, the Apple III product line, which was focused on the business and office market. And then a few days after taking over that job, Steve Jobs, who couldn't understand at that time that he needs to cannibalize his own products, instead he tried to cancel the Apple III product line, and later, by the way, the Apple II product line, in order to preserve the market for his beloved Macintosh, which he had not yet shipped. So after they canceled it, I got a call into the president's office, and he says, "Dave, we've got $30 million in piece parts for the Apple III spread amongst our manufacturing facilities in Singapore, Dallas, and in Cork, Ireland. What should we do about it?" And I said, "What do you mean we, paleface?" And he didn't get the joke, so I had to explain to him that there was a television series back in the 50s and 60s. And he was old enough to watch TV back then,
Right.
even when he was president of Pepsi. And the Lone Ranger, who was the star of the show, was galloping through the desert with his Indian sidekick, Tonto. Now, when I tell this story to Indians from India, I have to say American Indian sidekick, Tonto. And the Lone Ranger had one silver bullet in his belt, and he rode a white horse called Trigger, who, by the way, is buried next to him. And he wore a mask, and he fought evil. So they get surrounded by 10,000 yelling, screaming Indians. I'm telling John Scully this story. And the Lone Ranger turns to Tonto, the American Indian sidekick, and he says, Tonto, we're surrounded by 10,000 yelling, screaming Indians, and all they want to do is scalp us. And Tonto responded, what do you mean we, paleface? Using the name for white Caucasians. I said, you canceled the product line. You didn't ask me. And he says, okay, what should we do with it? And I said, look, I try to put together a promotion to help sell Apple IIIs. And I had to take it to a promotions department in my division, who then took it to a merchandising department in corporate, who then took it to the marketing department in corporate, who then took it to the sales department in corporate, who then took it to the manufacturing reps in their areas, who then took it to the principal of the dealers, and we had 1,800 dealers. And then eventually, whatever I tried to do, you might get to the salespeople on the dealer floor. I said, you know what it's like pushing a wet noodle? And he snickered a little bit, and he says, well, what should we do? I said, give me the authority commensurate with you holding me responsible for the product line, and we'll be successful. And then I told him the story of the soul of a new machine from Alpha General, I think it was, to build a mini computer, and they couldn't get it done in their corporate headquarters in the Boston area, so they moved the team to Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, so they wouldn't be interfered with by the corporate. I told him the story of the IBM PC, which couldn't get built and developed in the Schenectady, New York headquarters of IBM. So they moved them to Boca Raton, Florida, about as far away they could get from corporate as they could, but staying in the same time zone. And then I told him the story of my friend, Kelly Johnson, who I had met during the days of supporting the supersonic transport. And Kelly was the head of the skunk works for Lockheed down in near Edwards Air Force Base. And his little independent team could develop, build, and fly an advanced aircraft like the XR-71 and the XB, or the X-1 and the X-15 in 18 months, while the rest of Lockheed would take 7 years. So I said, like those instances, give me the authority commensurate with the responsibility. Give me an independent business unit. So about a week later, the executive vice president of Apple, Ken Zerbe, called me. He says, I understand you know a little bit about the Apple III. Would you like to take over as the independent business unit? And I said, so I'm a general manager. He says, no, we can't call you that. We have to call you a business unit manager, or BUM for short.
Oh.
My hardy team of myself and 16 other people were given a budget of $4 million. We went out and sold 25,000 Apple IIIs at an average selling price of about $7,000 to $10,000, generated enough revenue to fund the development of the Macintosh, keep about 1,000 to 1,500 Apple employees employed, and then we shut down the product line without affecting the stock price. And then they gave me a nice severance package, and I've been on my own ever since.
Wow. Did you not have like an inclination to go back and do something, work for them, or at another bum unit?
In between in my career, I also dabbled in politics. And this is before politics got dirty. I ran Al
Has
Queen.
it ever been clean?
Oh, it was clean back in the 70s. It wasn't until the 90s, or even to some extent under the dirty tricks people like Roger Stone for Richard Nixon, and Newt Gingrich attacking Bill Clinton because of his relationship with Monica Lewinsky, when at the same time he was married and having an affair. That kind of hypocrisy. But before then, it was honorable. And you would campaign, maybe attacking your opponent up until 3 weeks before the election, and then you stopped and you go positive. Now it's one attack after another, and anything to get into power is the name of the game. But so back then in the 80s, when I worked for big corporations, I didn't like the politics that was going on inside the corporation. It was not involved with having customer satisfaction. It was not involved in improving the product and making sure that your customers were taken care of.
Right.
It was all about stabbing other people in the back that you pretended to be friends with so that you could get promoted ahead of them. And I said, I just don't like that kind of stuff. It's not socially good.
Mm.
So I left corporations after having an experience in a clean field, after running Al Qui's campaign and running John Conley's presidential campaign in Minnesota, where we got 4 more delegates there than he got in New Hampshire, which was in the first primary. We got 4, they got none. So that's why I left big corporate America.
Mm. So let's talk about socially accepted behavior, right? So, the toxic nature of corporate world is well known. However, it is accepted, and I think that is what is going on in like the political climate now. I thought it was always there. However, people are emboldened to be less than honorable, I would say. Wouldn't you think that one bleeds into the other? You know, the corporate messiness and the corporate toxin bleeds into the political sphere and vice versa, where people now have compromised morals to the point that I don't care as long as my ideology that would give me any semblance of power is primary.
Yeah, I don't know if this nastiness in politics, and by the way, politics is who gets what in our society.
Right,
Those that don't play politics usually end up with getting nothing.
right.
Uh, I don't know if this nastiness and self-centeredness came from corporations into politics or the other way around.
Okay.
Part of it was influenced by the Republicans in the United States subscribing to Atlas, or what's her name, Atlas Ryan, from the book Atlas Shrugged.
Hmm.
And that said that the only important contribution that a corporation has to make is to make a profit, and everything else would take care of itself.
Right.
But I worked for Dave Packard and Hewlett Packard, and we had a set of values called the HP Way. And when I joined Apple, we had a set of values, which included such things as empathy for the customer, but positive social contribution, individual performance, team spirit, innovation, quality, excellence, and good management. None of which says we have to make a profit.
Right.
HP, at least up until 1998, followed their values and they thrived. That's one of the reasons why HP grew 20% per year every year for 50 years,
Right.
because they had a set of values and they followed them. That's why Apple is, if not the most valuable company in the world, but pretty close to it. You see, in contrast, Elon Musk's values, which is almost the opposite.
Do we have to talk about him?
I'll make a prediction right here, right now, on November 26, 2024, that when the bubble bursts over Elon Musk, he's going to lose a lot of his wealth, which is tied up in the stock price of Tesla. And all you got to do is look at the Tesla truck, where I think they only shipped 3,000 or 4,000 of them, and they've all been
That thing is
recalled.
an abomination to creation.
Yeah.
I like. I read something, somebody made a post that they could be having the best day ever, and once they see that abomination, it pisses them clean off. Like the whole day's done. That, I try not to indulge in that human, because I'm not going to reduce him past a human being. He deserves that at the very least. But there's something insidious, about caring for your customers. And I see that in the SPICE acronym, right? Or, mnemonic. I see that. And, HP, I was an HP, I still am. I shouldn't say I was. I was an HP girl for the longest time. While I still had a lot of Apple products, my laptops were always HP. My printers were always HP until, I started running into not being able to, connect the two. So I'm like, okay, I kind of like have to. And it just warms my heart that you had this personal experience with this company, that I felt I was valued, even not knowing the story, right? I felt like this company actually cares about me as a consumer. I think there's something behind this company that it's not just my money, it's not just what I spend. And I also feel that with Apple, because one thing that Apple does is that every year, it doesn't matter what product they're releasing, there's always an upgrade. There's always something that was improved or that is improved from consumer feedback, right? And when the first earpods came out, I call them ear tampons because that's, it looked weird, right? An upgrade from the string, from the wires, disconnect. But they have gotten so much better, so much, more discreet, more, portable, right? Than the first, generation. So when we talk about people with morals, people that actually care as opposed to the profit, right? It shows. And, these are companies that survive. And thank you for sharing your experience with both, Apple when, Steve Jobs was very much in the middle of everything and now, and also HP, because there's something about an industry that focuses on profit that, yeah, I think the consumers feel that. And what would you say is the telltale signs to the consumer when it comes to a company that is very profit focused?
Well, I'll pick HP and its printer business right now.
Right.
I bought an inkjet printer, which comes with color inkjet cartridges and a black one.
Right.
And they ask and offer a subscription service for the ink and for
Mhm.
paper for that matter,
Yeah.
where they mail you a new set of cartridges every month, whether you want them or not. Well, I print maybe 5, perhaps 10 pages a month,
Right.
and I don't need to spend, I think it's like $7 a month, to print those 5 to 10 pages.
Right.
So I stopped the subscription after the free one. They went ahead and charged me for the next 3 months, so I had to ask for my money back, even though I canceled it. And then a month later, I went to go print something, and I couldn't print it because I didn't have a subscription to something I didn't want. There was no way of getting around it. So I had to start my subscription up in order to print something and then cancel it again.
Right.
That's not exactly what Apple teaches or the HP way teaches, to have empathy for your customer. What they've been trying to do, because Wall Street loves this, is to convert a person that buys a printer into a monthly subscription.
Right.
And then that can be valued in the stock price that you have a subscription.
Right.
That's why Amazon Prime has been so helpful to the stock price of Amazon, because 200 million people have signed up to pay, I think, $130 a year
Mhm.
to get free deliveries. So that's an example of not following your values of having empathy for your customer.
So with this new thing with the subscription and your printing need, would you continue with an HP printer or are you looking for alternatives?
Uh, when I need to get my next printer, I will definitely not be an HP printer.
Sad, 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 but so true. So let's go back to your 5 keys because I'm teetering, right? So I have physical product and I have service-based product, right? So, how familiar are you with healthcare? Because I want to really put these 5 keys so that we can talk about it and kind of like expand on it. How familiar are you with the American healthcare system, I should say?
I've been in it for over 70 years, so I'm familiar with it.
So, you do understand is a giant maze for the consumer, right? And also for the business side of things, it can feel very much very buttoned up, right? Very much is about who you know. So if somebody has a business that is in the healthcare space and does see the benefit to the healthcare consumers and the healthcare establishment, right? How do you apply these 5 keys to the market?
Well, in the area of the product market strategy, there's 32 components of that. So,
32.
yeah, the
Dang
not my fault. It, it's understanding what the customer wants to do. It's personas, who
it.
your target customer is, your target market, your total available market, your product positioning, your value proposition. your support, service, sales strategy. So some of those things don't necessarily apply to healthcare, but
Okay.
certainly understanding which segment of the market your services are going to address helps you begin to focus on that and to clearly understand who your target customer is, right down to their persona. So let's suppose it's cancer, or let's suppose it's diabetes, or let's say it's overweight, or general practice, or surgery, or whatever it may be. Um, the P is, if you're going to have a process of, say, surgery, like many mistakes have been made. So now when you go in to have your right arm operated on, they market it as the right arm so they don't get it reversed. Things like that. They took out the wrong kidney, or the wrong lung, or something like that. The I is having the information available to make informed decisions. And now, with the advent of artificial intelligence, it's able to read x-rays faster and give better results than a human can, and not miss things like tumors. But there's other areas of medical where AI is not helpful and actually is counterproductive. The C is probably the most important part, is understanding your customer. What is it that they want to do? Why they want to do it? When do they want to do it? Where they want to do it? How do they want to do it? What's standing in their way? How important that is that they get that done? And how satisfied are they with the alternatives? So let's suppose someone has cancer. What is it that they want to do? They'd like to cure the cancer. Why do they want to do it? Because they don't want the cancer to kill them. How do they want to do it? Or they want to do it in the least invasive way possible. My mom was a 9-year breast cancer survivor, which was unusual for breast cancer back in the 70s. And she had 3 mastectomies and couldn't raise her arms above her neck, and of course had many courses of chemotherapy, which caused her to lose all her hair. And I think she was in constant pain for those 9 years. That's not the outcome that we want. That's not what a customer wants to do. And now, with the advent of the mRNA vaccines, like the COVID vaccines, it's possible, and there are clinical trials going on now, to have a custom cancer cure right down to a particular individual's DNA. So that's who, what, when, where, why, where. How important is it? Well, in this case, it's a person's life or quality of life. And what's standing in the way? Maybe some advances in medical science, maybe the time it takes to do trials in order to make sure that the drug actually works and is safe. And what's the alternative? Well, it's the current methods of healthcare. So that's the big thing to understand in your particular market niche. And then lastly, the doctors and the nurses and the paramedicals and the administration need to have all the skills necessary to be successful. It used to be you go into a hospital and it has the worst food in the world. Now, many hospitals are catching on that if they serve their patients some decent food, they'll get healthy better, faster, and they'll stay healthy faster. And in fact, there's a law in the United States that came about during COVID that allows healthcare to be delivered to a person's home rather than keeping them in the emergency room and outside of their own bed. Well, that's set to expire by the end of this year in the United States, and a lot of people are going to be sent back to hospitals, causing them to be overcrowded again, where they could be given better health care, better outcome, better results, and they would be more comfortable and happier if they could stay in their homes. It's a shame it took a law to do that. Why these healthcare chains don't do that? Well, probably goes back to the profit margin. They make more money if they have the people in the hospital than taking care of them at home. So that's how the spice could work in the healthcare profession.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for that. So if somebody comes to you, say 2 individuals, right? They come to you for mentorship, guidance, or to work with you, and one already has a business established that they tried other methods and it hasn't resulted in, fruitful measures, right? Or getting and maintaining clients. And one comes to you right at the ideology of their business, right? who do you feel is I don't want to say easier, but that's the only thing that comes to mind. Who is more coachable out of those two? I have an inclination, but who do you think would be more coachable out of the two individuals? One who's at the seed stage and one who's already tried and failed.
I think the one that tried and failed is easier to coach and
Oh,
easier
really?
because they've had a failure and they realize that they need help. I've had a number of entrepreneurs that were just starting up and they raise a little bit of venture capital and they don't think their shit stinks. Um, they know their- and yet I tell them, hey, wait a minute, you're missing something big here. And without exception, I think I've been through maybe a dozen to 2 dozen companies like that. Without
Right.
exception, they're all out of business.
Oh, wow.
So I think one of the values at HP and at Apple is it's okay to fail because you learn the best through failure.
Yes.
After I started my flying club at Michigan, and by the way, it's trained over 5,000 pilots and is going strong today because I set up a vision statement, a set of values, and a mission for it, and it follows that now. I became a flight instructor and I learned and worked my way through the last couple of years of college as a flight instructor. And I learned one of the best ways to let students learn how to fly an airplane is to let them make mistakes.
Right.
And I'd let them make all the mistakes they want up until 100 feet above the ground. And then I'd take over because then it's my ass that's on the line.
It's so true. It's so true. I thought the reverse, but now it makes sense because a startup, usually anybody that's starting a business is so married to the idea that, yeah, the business is the best, and, there's some level of bravado that goes with that. So now I see why you would go that direction. And also with failure is not, I used to cringe at the idea of failing at something. And again, in my learning and expanding my world as a business owner, I saw this thing that broke down failures. Fail, first attempt in learning, right? And it became easier. It's like I'm learning, it's a learning process. I have to build this entrepreneurship muscle. So, thanks for that insight. So, David, for everybody listening, what is the one advice that you would give to anybody starting a business or that is working on a business, or is at that point where it's kind of like, I don't think this is completely working out?
Before they do anything, particularly in the area of spending money on development, write out your complete product market strategy.
Mm.
It will take 3 to 6 months of people time, 1 to 3 months of actual work, because you've got to observe people in terms of what they do. You need to interview people in terms of what they do, and you need to survey people in terms of what they do.
Right.
And if you have big data available, do big data analytics. Take your time and do that before you rush to spending your money on development. And in a number of instances, where I have asked to come in to help out, it turns out that they developed the wrong product for the particular market they're going after, or the product they developed, they're trying to market it to the wrong market. One instance is a company in the mid 80s that was trying to do a computer workstation, drafting software, word processing software, and database software to handle rapid changes in engineering design. So they're trying to do an OEM of a workstation plus all that software, and they didn't have the resources of Apple or Sun Microsystems or Microsoft or Apollo and stuff like that. So it turns out they're going after the wrong market. And the way I found that out is I went out and talked to their customers. They had sold about 20 of these systems and learned from them that the market they should focus on is manufacturing instructions, not engineering design. So I was able to get the company to pivot to that, and we were somewhat successful going after that market. So I've seen that time and time again, and that was as a result of having an idea and not testing it against putting together an extensive and comprehensive product market strategy.
That is great advice. As we are talking, the people listening, and if somebody's interested in working with you because either they failed or about to fail or do not want to make costly mistakes, how can they reach out to you, David, and establish a working relationship with you?
They can send me an email at dave@spicecatalyst.com. That's one word. Go to my website, spicecatalyst.com, where all of my contact information is, links to my books, which are available on Amazon worldwide, Building and Scaling Great Products, Organizing and Managing and Scaling Great Products, Successful Product Design and Management Toolkit, which Wiley published. It's a little pamphlet. It's only 796 pages, goes over everything we've talked about in great detail, and is used in a couple executive MBA programs at prestigious universities in India. And then there's links to my online courses and my course syllabus for in-person training. I've trained people at Capital One Bank, at Botswanian Telecommunications Company, at a couple dozen other organizations like that. So if you're interested, it's spicecatalyst.com.
Beautiful. Thank you. And for everybody listening, we are going to have all that information in the show notes. So if you were not writing fast enough, we've got you. And please reach out. Let us know what you thought about this episode. Reach out to David and ask questions. He's open to it. And so, David, I just have to say, I think you missed out on an opportunity. And the opportunity was, to really make something of that bomb acronym.
That's why I don't like the term product manager, because there's a little blog I have on my website. I would go to a party and a very nice looking lady would be there, and I would walk up to her and start chit chatting, and she'll say, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a product manager." She says, "What's that?" I said, "Well, I'm responsible for the product market strategy. I'm responsible for having repeatable processes. I'm responsible for having the information available to make informed decisions. I'm responsible for understanding the customer, who they are, what they want to do, when they want to do it. And I have these 130 competencies." And soon after I get halfway through the product market strategy, she usually turns and walks away because they don't understand what I do.
It's a lot.
So I wrote a memo to my boss. I said, "Boss, this happens to me all the time. I'm not going to have the prerequisite, get married and have 2.3 kids, because my job title is the wrong job title. I'd like to have the job title of Product Success Manager, because then when I tell the woman that's my title, they know immediately that I'm responsible and have the authority for the product's success." And I said, "If you let me change my title to Product Success Manager, you could be vice president of product success. And then when I get married, I promise I'll invite you to the wedding."
Did it work?
Yeah, I told this story when I gave a speech to about 150 engineers and product managers at Samsung in 2018 in Bangalore, India. And afterwards, a half a dozen of them came up to me and said, "Yeah, I want to be product success manager too." So they went and asked their VP of product management, could they change their title? And he says, "I'm sorry, you can't change the title because the people back in Korea won't let you change the title." I said, "Don't tell the people in Korea that you change your title. Just print up your business cards with Product Success Manager on it. Otherwise, you're going to have nothing but bachelors working for you for the rest of your life."
And that's not a good recipe. You need a woman to kind of
Well, some of these were lady product managers too.
Oh, see? So I like that, but I feel like you missed out on an opportunity. So as we wrap this up, right? Quick question. Which is easier to manage, product or people?
Products.
I knew it. Yeah, managing people is tough.
I have a friend that's a divorce attorney, and she said, "I hate people."
Can't disagree with her. I cannot disagree. So, yeah.
To a great extent, herding cats is easier than managing people.
Why would you go to David?
I remember I called a meeting of the Apple III Business Group, and one of the guys wasn't there. He was always late to the meetings.
Right.
We had a joke around Apple. There was Eastern Standard Time, Pacific Standard, and then there's Apple Standard Time, which is 20 minutes after the hour or 20 minutes after the meeting's supposed to start. But this guy had a Jaguar XKE, and he had installed on it a motion detector, which would set off an alarm, which would then buzz on a pager that he had on his belt. So he wasn't at the meeting. So I went outside, put my foot on the bumper, pumped the car up and down. The alarm went off. His buzzer went off. He came immediately running out to see what's happening to his car. I said, "Hey, you're late for the meeting. Now come on in so we get the meeting." So that's what I mean by herding cats.
Jaguar cats. Got it. Okay. Not real cats. Great. This was such a wonderful opportunity to chat. I want to delve deeper into your spice, and I might just be one of those people reaching out to you because I could need your guidance. I mean, you've been everywhere. I'm not new to healthcare. However, I am new to tech. I'm new to, learning the ins and out of tech and building something tech. So I could use you, David. Thank you for being here. Is there anything that, you want to leave us with? I know you gave us a nice last bit, a tip. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with? Just as humans.
Just thanks for putting up with me.
Yeah, if putting up with you was, the most difficult part of all of this, every single day, every hour of the day, you were a pleasure to have. I'm very sincere about that. It was a pleasure talking to you. And this is the whole premise of having this platform because we, as humans, especially in the Western world, we've lost the ability to relate. We've lost the ability to communicate. We've lost the ability to just laugh and talk and share commonality. So,
And empathy for other people.
I wasn't going to go there, but there you are.
And for cats.
We are me. That's the cat, right? It's like a me. It's what my thoughts, what benefits me, what I care about. That's it. You do not matter. So, thank you for being a great human, David.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So, thank you everybody for listening. Let us know what you think, and if you want David back, which I kind of sort of do, let me know. Okay? Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to Abeg Vex Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the discussion. So join us on social media or drop us a message. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and keep pushing the boundaries of your world.